MuscleCar's LeMans project held an ugly secret. But it doesn't scare Lou. Yes, he can build engines. And yes, they run.
It's time for another muscle car, and it's time for me to clean up the mess we made last week. Usually I can pick the projects that we do, but this week, the project made that decision for me. Last week, we pulled a frame out from under our 67 LeMans, straightened it up with some heat and pulleys, added some bracing, boxed in the rails, filled in all the unnecessary holes, then sanded it down. That was a lot of time and effort, and we're not going to push that frame aside and let the rust reclaim it. So today, Brent's finishing it off with some primer and chassis paint. Another reason to continue with it, we've got the rear end, the transmission, the disc brake conversion. We've even got the wheels and tires. But the butter on your biscuit, we've got everything we need to stroke out that tired 326. There was less than 50,000 miles on this rather unappreciated engine. Take a look at this. It looked like it could be trashed, but surprisingly, it was salvageable. So we needed to find a shop familiar with Pontiac engines. Who else than Butler Performance in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee? The best shops in our industry grew from a passion, and that's what makes the Butlers one of the top engine builders in the country. Horsepower's 69 Firebird project was powered by a Butler all Pontiac design aluminum 474. It had the power to throw you in the trunk, so having them handle the machine work was an easy choice. Some fire, bead blasting, a spin in the tumbler, and the bath made this old block look new again. Then it was time for prep, pre-fit, and mic everything to make sure it's right before assembly. All this would be a waste of time without some high-flowing heads, and since no one makes them for the 326, Butler came through again by hogging out our stock ones. You've got to love these guys. But before we go any further, you've probably noticed that we don't have a clean room to build engines in. So my first tip for the day, and after a full career in the Navy, I figure I'm qualified to show you this. You want to fan it out so you can get as much coverage as you can. 2 swipes each side, dunk it. And that'll give us our dust-free environment that we need to build our engine. And if you do it at home, the ladies think it's sexy. Too bad the block wasn't that easy to clean. It's been decked and painted original Pontiac blue. And see this? It's called casting flash. And there was plenty of it in here as well. They ground it all out for better oil flow. Unlike your Chevys, one of your Pontiac oil galley plugs is hidden behind this freeze-out plug. You want to have them both removed in order to clean the block properly. And if your machine shop doesn't know that, you may want to find another one. Something else that's unique about the Pontiac, there's only one place to grind to make room for your stroker crank. Now this Eagle crank will add a 1/2-inch stroke to your 326 through 400. That's because they share the same blocks, just different bore sizes. Now for you younger guys who don't know what stroking an engine means, listen up. You older guys, tell me how the class went. An engine is based on the maximum amount of fuel and air mixture the cylinders can hold, rated by cubic inches. The more cubic inches, the more power. You can increase that amount by boring out the cylinders, or make the piston travel deeper in the cylinder with the longer stroke of the crank. Hence the name, stroker. Less machine work, less money, and it will add more to those torque numbers. With the upper bearings and seal in place, let's move on to prove that theory. Pontiac uses these dowel pins to locate the main caps. It also prevents you from putting them on backwards. On some engines, that is possible. We're not giving torque specs, because every engine is different. But keep in mind, it's important to work from the center out. These Eagle H-beam Chevy style rods are longer than stock Pontiacs. Longer rods mean more torque. Ross custom made these pistons with a dish for 9.5-to-1 compression ratio needed to run pump gas. We're ready for the heads, and look at what we got. This is the result of their porting and polishing. They outfitted the head for screw-in studs and the appropriate springs for our hydraulic roller cam. Gasket matched our exhaust ports, gave us bigger intake valves, and cleaned up the chambers. These heads will outflow any factory GTO head any day. Mr. Gasket makes an entire kit for this engine. Torquing down the heads, follow the same principle, inside out. Earlier, we slid in a hydraulic cam with increased lift from comp cams. Now we'll follow it up with their roller lifters and rockers. This engine will be sucking more air than the stock manifold could ever give. So Butler's custom tray, along with Edelbrock's P65 replica manifold and 2 of their 500 CFM Performance Series EFM carburetors will feed it well. To light it up, Mallory makes this electronic 57 Series brakeless distributor. The gear is special order from Butler Performance for this combination. Our goal was not to show you how to assemble an engine. Everybody's got their own method on that. I wanted you to see our parts combination to build a 326 into a powerful 375. Now there'll be a complete build list on the website, but after the break, the dyno's gonna tell us how well we did our homework. We're back. Ready for this thing, man?
Oh yeah, bring it on in.
And Mike's giving up his afternoon nap to give me a hand. The engine's together with no real surprises. Here's what's in the former 326. An Eagle crank with a 1/2-inch stroke, their longer H-beam rods, Ross custom pistons for 9.5-to-1 compression, original heads were hogged out by the Butler boys, hydraulic valve train from comp cams, and Edelbrock took care of all the intake. After a 40-minute break-in, retorquing the heads,
Watch that throttle.
I'm ready to see if the spirits of the chief are gonna shine on us. First pass, 357 horses. With some in-car tuning, we'll hit that predicted 400 mark. But that's not all. At 2,500, we're making 362 foot-pounds of torque at
Can't
idle.
go wrong there.
So, I mean,
That'll get the boat moving.
Right, for the street, it'd be perfect, man. It's perfect. Cost, a little under $5,000, or about 12 bucks a horsepower. Not bad. While this cools down, here's what Brent got done. The first coat was an etching primer, really the only thing to use on freshly ground steel. Followed by 2 coats of high-gloss industrial enamel from Autobody Color. This is plenty tough for the protection that we need, and at least half the cost and time of base coat clear coat applications for those high-end jobs. We're gonna put the frame back together, starting with these polyurethane bushings from Prothane. Now, if this was a concourse restoration, I'd be losing major points for this. But these will last forever, giving a firmer ride by tightening everything up, unlike the original rubber, which allows for some movement. You could use a hammer for all of this, but it would take some time, and you'll probably end up with one arm looking like Popeye's. If your neighbor has an arbor press, bring back his tools and make up with them. In case you missed it last week, we boxed in the original arms for strength and raised the caps to lower the ride height without losing that stock appearance. With the inner shaft greased, a little more will help get them in place. Here's some more points reduction on the concourse, but well worth it. Stainless steel brakes offers a complete disc brake conversion for the B-body that borders on a racing application. This is all the stuff for the front. We haven't even unpacked the rear yet. These spindles are really close duplicates of the originals. They're modified for more brake options, but without screwing up your steering geometry. These steering parts are stock. We got them from around the corner at O'Reilly's. Except for this steering arm, a little touch-up is all it needed. Even stock parts are fun to put on. Back to the brakes. The hubs are bolted to the rotors in case you need something besides these vented and slotted 13 inches. The 4 oversized pistons and the aluminum calipers will keep you from calling your insurance agent. And these top-loading pads are just like the big boys at the track. They even threw in some braided line to hook things up. Now this is as far as we can go on our front end for right now, because our brake booster and master cylinder hang on a non-existing firewall. We do have the stuff to finish up the rear end though. These trailing arms are stamped steel, and they have a tendency to flex. Boxing them will take care of that. This 12-bolt rear end from Mosier comes with a Detroit True Track, and these bolts will allow me to lock down the carrier bearing caps, reducing gear and bearing flex. Most GM axles are held in place with C-clips, but these 31 spline axles are held in place with these 4 9-inch housing ends, using retainer plates to hold them in. So if you blow your ring and pinion, your axles won't become projectiles. The rear brake smart conversion kit use 11-inch rotors, and these caliper pistons rotate as they come out, applying even pressure to the pads when braking. Plus, they don't recoil as far. Later on in the show, I'll install the rear end, finish up the chassis, and if we're lucky, we're going to drop in the engine and tranny. Back in the early 60s, the Impala was no slouch. Between the years 61 and 65, Chevy was stuffing a certain W-head engine between the fenders. Even if you weren't a gearhead then, you still heard about it on the radio.
This week's Muscle Car Flashback, the Impala Supersport 409.
Before the Camaro and Mustang, power was spelled with 3 words, 409. When Chevy debuted the legendary engine back in '61, American muscle equaled big cars with big displacement. In '62, Chevy improved on the 409 with a new set of heads, a more aggressive cam, 2 Carter AFBs, and then you had a 409, 409. '63 was the peak year. It was busting out a whopping 425 horsepower with solid lifters, dual carbs. One of the cars that had this powerhouse dropped in it was Bobby Ginn's '63 Impala SS. Less than 17,000 of these super sports rolled off of GM's assembly line that year. Throw a convertible top on it, you got one hard to find Impala. A special interior and exterior trim package, including full wheel covers with 3-blade spinners, tack on the steering column, served as a warning to all would-be challengers. Oh yeah, don't forget that 4-speed manual transmission and a posi rear end. It's no wonder those boys from the beach sang about it so much. With a chrome grille and bumper, 4 headlights, body lines that screamed Chevrolet, and taillights that looked like they were out of this world, style points were no problem for this set of wheels. And in case you missed all that, Chevy wasn't shy with the badging. Drop in a spacious interior and you've got a car fit for a Sunday stroll or a Saturday night at the track. Bobby's dad picked up this Impala in '81 for $5,500. The car was disassembled and sat for the next 20 years. Then in 2001, Bobby took the car home in trailer loads.
It was quite a task. It was a good challenge. I like a good challenge, and this was a good one.
Late nights and long weekends paid off as this turnkey beauty hit the road for the first time in over 25 years. By the mid-'60s, the Impala was wildly popular as a full-size car. If you ever catch a glance at one of these family sedans on the street, don't let the size fool you, because this baby ain't hauling groceries. The 409 was replaced by the 396, which was later bored out to make the infamous 427, which led the way for the monstrous 454. Earlier in the show, Butler Performance took our 326 and turned it into a 375. Back at the shop, we assembled it and ran it on the dyno. The frame was painted, the front suspension was installed, axles went in the rear end, and disc brakes all the way around. The frame is just about ready to go on the ground. Our original trailing arms are good to go. It's time to install the rear. With it lined up and the upper trailing arms on, I can now put in my stock springs. and then attach the lower trailing arms from the axle to the chassis. I need to order my wheels, so we went to Trucks and borrowed theirs from their S10K. They were done with them. These will work till we get ours. This flywheel is part of the D2 series clutch setup from Zoom. It uses a dual disc that works as a 1-2 type engagement. Basically, it acts as one, whether you're taking it easy or slamming the gears. This floater cage has a friction ring in it that's been cryogenically treated to help resist warpage. It's what they do, they heat it up real hot, then they throw it in a vat of liquid nitrogen, making the steel stronger. The cool thing, the discs are marked pressure plate and flywheel side to avoid any confusion during installation. This hydraulic throwout bearing is from McLeod, so there's no linkage adjustment. This Lakewood scatter shield is boom proof. If the clutch blows, I won't be counting my toes. Backing up the stroker is a Richmond Super T10 4-speed. That's the easiest way to install an engine, and it's gonna stay there. The finished body will be reassembled around it. Our lowered front end was brought down a little bit by the weight of the engine. The rest of the car will finish it off. We put stock springs in the rear for now. When it's all complete, we can order the correct ones to level it out. We've done a whole diaper's load of work this time, and it's always nice to take something that's 40 years old and make it look like a baby again, except this baby's been genetically improved. Later.